There are moments in life when we are aware of God's protection, when He closes a door, removes a toxic person, or redirects our steps in a way that's obvious. But then, there are times when we don't even realize we've been protected until much later. You may not have seen it. You may not have felt it. But heaven was working behind the scenes through the very choices you made, decisions that seemed small, insignificant, or even random. Yet, those very decisions shielded you from unnecessary chaos. Many believe that divine protection comes through angelic intervention, miraculous escapes, or lucky breaks. But what if I told you that sometimes, your greatest protection comes from your own decisions, decisions that were divinely influenced without you even realizing it? That time you ignored a message. That time you hesitated to reconnect with someone from your past. That time you declined an invitation you would have normally accepted. It wasn't just coincidence. It was divine strategy. Without even knowing it, you just dodged a storm. Think back, has someone reached out to you recently, but for some reason, you didn't respond? Maybe you felt too busy, too drained, or just didn't feel like engaging. That wasn't random. That was divine discernment. Some people don't come into your life to bless you. They come to drain you. They come to dump their emotional baggage on you, to pull you into their mess, to disrupt your peace. And sometimes, without even understanding why, your spirit rejects them before your mind even catches up. You felt no urgency to reply. You sensed something wasn't right. You simply moved on, and in doing so, you dodged a spiritual attack. These people mask their intentions well. They disguise manipulation as concern, toxicity as friendship, and control as guidance. But your soul, the part of you connected to the divine, recognized the danger and shielded you. What seemed like an ignored message was actually an escape from chaos. What seemed like a declined invitation was actually a rejection of negativity. You didn't even have to fight this battle, your spirit fought it for you. What's happening in your life is not random. These little choices, these seemingly insignificant decisions, they are leading you toward divine alignment, and because of that, you just avoided a situation that could have stolen your joy, wasted your time, or even harmed your future. Every step you take in wisdom, every toxic situation you avoid, every negative cycle you break, it is bringing you closer to the life you were meant to live. So, I need you to do something right now. 1. Hit the like button if you know that God has been protecting you in ways you didn't even realize. 2. Subscribe to this channel because messages like this are proof that heaven is guiding you. 3. Comment below, I have a guardian angel, if you know that divine protection is over your life. Because listen, this is just the beginning. What's happening in your life right now is shifting everything. Stay with me for the next part, because what's coming next will change everything. Have you ever noticed how the same types of people, situations, or struggles keep resurfacing in your life? Maybe it's always the same type of toxic relationship pulling you back. Maybe it's always the same emotional triggers setting you off. Maybe it's always the same bad habits creeping in when you least expect it. But something changed recently. This time, you reacted differently. You didn't argue when someone tried to provoke you. You didn't try to explain yourself to people who refused to understand you. You didn't let guilt or obligation pull you back into old patterns. And because of that, you just broke a cycle that had kept you trapped for years. Do you realize what that means? It means you have finally grown beyond the version of yourself that used to fall for these traps. The old you would have engaged in the argument. The old you would have let guilt pull you back. The old you would have ignored the red flags. But now you see things differently. Now, you have wisdom. Now, you walk in divine discernment. And that, my friend, is a spiritual graduation. Because cycles only repeat until you learn the lesson. And you just passed the test. Now, the enemy has a problem, because the old tricks no longer work on you. You're no longer controlled by your emotions. You're no longer manipulated by guilt. You're no longer deceived by false promises. And because of that, you are now walking in a new level of spiritual freedom. What was meant to hold you back has lost its grip. What was meant to confuse you has lost its power. What was meant to keep you bound has now been broken. And let me tell you something, the enemy is terrified of this new version of you. Because now, you are walking in wisdom. Now, you are making decisions that protect your destiny. Now, you are avoiding battles that were never meant to be yours. And because of that, your path is clearing, your spirit is lighter, and your future is brighter than ever. This was never just a small decision. This was a divine intervention. And guess what? It's just the beginning. Every choice you make shapes your future, but some decisions do more than just influence where you're going. They protect you from unnecessary pain, setbacks, and even spiritual attacks. What you have done recently, perhaps without realizing it, has saved you from heartache, chaos, and regret. Maybe you thought it was just a small moment of self-discipline. Maybe you didn't even connect it to anything significant. But what if I told you that heaven took note of your growth, your strength, and your refusal to settle? These weren't just ordinary decisions. They were divine markers that proved you are stepping into a new season of wisdom, power, and alignment with God's will. It could have been easy. You could have taken the job that paid well but required you to compromise your peace. You could have gone back to the relationship that was familiar but unfulfilling. You could have said yes to something that looked good in the moment but would have stolen your long-term joy. But you didn't. You chose yourself. You chose patience instead of desperation. You chose value over convenience. You chose to trust that if it wasn't right, God had something better. And because of that, you avoided a situation that would have drained you more than it would have fulfilled you. Not everyone makes that choice. Some people go back to what's comfortable even when they know it's unhealthy. Some people settle out of fear instead of waiting for what's best. Some people accept less because they're afraid they won't get more. But you walked away. And that's why you are being positioned for something greater. Because when you refuse to settle for something beneath your worth, heaven aligns you with something that matches your calling. That job you turned down? A better one is coming. That relationship you walked away from? The right person is being prepared for you. That opportunity that didn't feel right? Something greater is on the way. You didn't miss out. You made space, and you just proved to heaven that you are ready for more. Something didn't feel right. Maybe it was a conversation that seemed off. Maybe it was an opportunity that looked perfect but felt forced. Maybe it was a person who smiled, but their spirit didn't sit well with you. You couldn't explain it. You didn't have facts to back it up. You just felt it deep in your soul, and instead of ignoring it, you listened. That one decision, choosing to follow your instincts instead of your logic, may have saved you from a situation you didn't even know was dangerous. There are things happening in the spirit realm that we don't see. People with hidden agendas, situations that appear harmless but are actually traps. Paths that look promising but lead to destruction. And because you trusted that inner voice, you avoided something you might never even know was a threat. Some might call it a lucky guess, but you know better. That was discernment. That was divine protection. Because when you walk in alignment with God, your spirit picks up on things your mind can't process yet. Your spirit sensed the danger before it could manifest. Your spirit detected the deception before it could trap you. Your spirit whispered, "Not this. Not now. Not them." And instead of brushing it off, you listened. That is spiritual maturity. That is wisdom. And that is exactly why you are being guided into your next level. there was a time when you felt the need to explain yourself, to prove your worth, to justify your decisions, to convince people that you had good intentions. But recently, something shifted. You realized that some people don't actually want to understand you. They just want to judge you. No matter what you say, they will twist it. No matter what you do, they will criticize it. No matter how much effort you put in, they will refuse to see your heart. And so, you stop trying, not out of bitterness, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom, because you finally understood that your peace is more valuable than their approval. You don't need to defend yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to convince people who have already made up their minds. You don't need to justify your growth to those who are intimidated by it. And because you let go of that burden, you just freed up space in your life for people who actually see you, respect you, and celebrate you. That decision didn't just protect your energy, it elevated your entire life. Because now, you are no longer weighed down by opinions that don't matter. And guess what? That freedom is going to bring more peace, more clarity, and more joy than you ever expected. Every decision you made, big or small, was a step toward divine alignment. You refused to settle for less than you deserved. You trusted your instincts even when you didn't have proof. You stopped wasting energy on people who don't want to understand you. And because of that, you are about to walk into a season where everything begins to make sense. What once drained you will no longer affect you. What once confused you will become clear. What once held you back will now be beneath you. Because you are not who you used to be, you are stepping into a higher level of wisdom, strength, and favor. And nothing, not the past, not toxic people, not self-doubt, can stop you from rising. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't taking on more, it's letting go. There are burdens that were never meant to be yours. There are relationships that were never meant to last. There are cycles that were never meant to continue. And recently, you made choices that broke patterns, freed your energy, and aligned you with peace. Even if you didn't realize it, heaven saw what you released. And because of that, you are stepping into something greater. For too long, you carried other people's problems as if they were your own. You tried to fix what they broke. You tried to heal what they refused to confront. You tried to carry a weight that wasn't meant for you. But then, something clicked. You realized that it was never your job to be their savior. You can help, but you can't heal them. You can support, but you can't save them. You can love, but you can't live their journey for them. And so, you let go, not because you stopped caring, not because you were selfish, but because you finally understood that you were drowning in a responsibility that was never yours to begin with. And as soon as you released it, you felt lighter. You avoided exhaustion. You avoided unnecessary guilt. You avoided being drained by people who never intended to carry their own weight. Now, you have energy for your own purpose. Now, you are free from carrying the weight of someone else's choices. Now, you are able to walk without being weighed down by burdens that don't belong to you. And because of that, you are finally moving forward. No drama, no arguments, no long-winded explanations. You just stopped showing up for what no longer served you. And that silence, that absence, it spoke louder than words ever could. There was a time when you would have felt the need to explain why you were leaving. You would have written the long text, had the exhausting conversation, tried to justify your decision. But now, you realize that real peace comes from quiet exits. Some people noticed the change. Some people felt the shift. Some people are confused about where you went. But you owe no explanation for choosing yourself. And guess what? The people who truly matter never needed an explanation to begin with. You walked away from toxic cycles, one-sided relationships, and places that kept draining your energy. You chose to remove yourself without waiting for permission, and that simple choice protected you from unnecessary drama, because you don't need closure when you have clarity. Now, your energy is yours again. Now, your time is no longer wasted. Now, you are surrounded by people who value your presence instead of exploiting it. And that, my friend, is real freedom. There was a time when certain things triggered you. There was a time when certain people had power over you. There was a time when certain environments felt comfortable even though they were toxic. But now, you are no longer attracted to what used to break you. You have healed. You have set boundaries. You have let go of who you were to embrace who you are becoming. And because of that, everything around you is shifting. The wrong people are falling away. The right opportunities are appearing. The peace you once prayed for is now your reality. This is not luck. This is not random. This is the direct result of your healing. Because when you change your energy, your life begins to change too. And now, what used to pull you backward no longer has power over you. There was a pattern in your life, a cycle that kept repeating, a situation that kept showing up in different forms, a lesson that you kept being forced to learn. But this time, you did something different. You didn't react in anger. You didn't let it steal your peace. You didn't engage in the drama. You walked away. You handled it with wisdom. You passed the test, and do you know what happens when you pass a test? You never have to take it again, that same cycle that used to pull you back. It's now broken, that same toxic pattern that once controlled you. It no longer has access to you, and because of that, you are now stepping into a season where peace and clarity replace the chaos of your past. There was a time when you held on too tightly, to a person, to a job, to a situation that felt safe but wasn't meant for you. But then, you let go, not because you stopped wanting it, but because you realized it wasn't meant for you. And that simple shift saved you from unnecessary heartbreak. Because sometimes, what we think we need is actually a distraction, that opportunity that didn't work out, that relationship that didn't last, that situation that slipped away. It didn't happen to you, it happened for you. Because what is truly meant for you will never require you to chase it. You no longer beg for spaces that don't recognize your value. You no longer force things that don't align with your purpose. You no longer settle for what is beneath your calling. And because of that, you are making room for something far greater. Do you feel it, that lightness? That shift? That feeling that you are finally free from what once held you back? That's not just coincidence. That's proof that you have outgrown the old version of yourself. You let go of burdens that weren't yours. You walked away from situations that drained you. You healed in ways that changed your entire life. And now, everything is aligning for your highest good. What's coming next will make sense of everything you had to walk away from. Because you weren't losing, you were making room. And soon, everything you truly deserve will arrive. There was a time when you chased things that weren't meant for you. You held on to relationships, opportunities, and dreams that no longer aligned with who you were becoming. You fought to keep doors open that were meant to close. You tried to control outcomes that were never in your hands to begin with. But something shifted recently. You stopped forcing. And by doing that, you didn't just avoid unnecessary pain, you realigned your entire life. Because when you stop chasing what isn't meant for you, you make room for what is. There was a time when you would have held on too tightly, to a person who didn't value you, to a job that drained you, to a dream that no longer inspired you. But now, you trust that if something is truly meant for you, it will find its way back to you at the right time, in the right way. You no longer force connections that don't feel right, chase after people who don't see your worth, cling to opportunities that require you to shrink yourself. You finally understood that letting go isn't losing, it's making space. And because of that, you protected yourself from heartbreak, frustration, and wasted time. What was once a struggle is now a place of peace. What once made you anxious no longer holds power over you. What once felt like an unbearable loss now feels like divine redirection. And that shift alone has saved you from battles you were never meant to fight. For too long, you softened your words to make others comfortable. You stayed silent to avoid conflict. You allowed misunderstandings to linger because you didn't want to upset anyone. But something in you changed. You no longer dance around the truth. You no longer shrink yourself to avoid rejection. You no longer let fear of people's opinions dictate your words. Now, you speak with clarity, boldness, and truth, and something incredible happened. The wrong people removed themselves from your life, not because you were harsh, but because they were never meant to stay. They thrived in confusion. They benefited from your silence. They couldn't handle a version of you that refuses to tolerate half-truths and dishonesty. And their absence, it's not a loss. It's a blessing, because you are no longer surrounded by people who need you to dim your light to make them comfortable. Now, you are surrounded by people who love you for your authenticity, not your compliance. And that is liberation. There was a moment recently. Someone wanted to provoke you. They wanted a reaction. They wanted to pull you into a conflict that would have drained your energy. They wanted you to lose your peace while they sat back and watched. But you didn't take the bait. You stayed silent when they expected an argument. You walked away when they wanted you to fight. You refused to let their negativity become your burden. And because of that, you protected your peace. Now, look at them. They are still trapped in their own chaos, still looking for someone else to engage in their drama, still playing games that you have outgrown. But you are walking in clarity. You are moving forward while they are stuck. You are free from the cycles that used to control you. And that freedom, it is priceless. Comfort feels good, but it doesn't always mean right. That job was safe, but it wasn't fulfilling you. That relationship was familiar, but it wasn't growing you. That situation was predictable, but it was holding you back. And you realized something. You were made for more. So, despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, despite the discomfort, you walked away. And now, because of that one decision, new doors are opening. It may not be fully clear yet. You may not have all the answers, but deep inside, you know, you are exactly where you need to be. Your willingness to leave behind what was easy has positioned you for what is extraordinary. At first, it felt like things weren't going your way. The plans you made didn't work out. The opportunities you thought were yours disappeared. The timing you expected was delayed. And in the past, you might have fought against it. You would have tried to force things to happen. You would have tried to control every detail. You would have tried to resist the change. But this time, you surrendered. You chose to believe that if something isn't happening, it's because God is protecting you. You chose to trust that delays are not denials, they are divine positioning. And because of that, you avoided unnecessary pain. Some people spend their lives trying to force open doors that are closed for a reason. But you finally understood that what is truly meant for you will never require force, and that understanding has freed you from years of unnecessary struggle. Take a deep breath, look at where you are, look at what you have avoided, look at what you have released. Can you see it? You are not the same. The decisions you made recently weren't just about avoiding negativity. They were about stepping into the life you were always meant to have. You stopped chasing what wasn't meant for you. You spoke your truth without fear. You refused to let toxic people steal your energy. You stepped into the unknown because you knew you deserved more. You accepted that divine timing is always better than forced plans. And now, you are free, free from old cycles, free from unnecessary pain, free from anything that was never truly meant for you. What happens next? Everything you've been waiting for. Because now, you're not just surviving, you are aligned. You're no longer lost in confusion. You are walking in clarity. You're no longer chasing. You are attracting. And what's coming next? It's greater than anything you left behind.